Hey guys, what's up? Here's Max. Time is a complicated thing, and some say that time is not unique, but a cycle that repeats itself all the time. And if one thing changes in that cycle of time, everything that happens later may change, creating a new and different future, and then the concept that we call timelines arises. Another interesting thing is that time can be variable. Did you know that? Yes, a day can take a completely different time to complete on other planets. For example, we know as a day on planet Earth lasts 24 hours, but a day on planet Mercury lasts over 1,400 Earth hours. In other words, one day on Mercury is equivalent to more than 50 days on our planet. Knowing that, how about we imagine what would happen if in a timeline, the time on planet Vegeta, the planet of the Saiyans, was different from how time passed on planet Earth? What if we imagine that Kakarot was born a few years earlier? What would Kakarot's life have been like on planet Vegeta with his people? Or rather, what would happen on planet Earth if Kakarot wasn't there? What would things be like on Earth if Gohan was born a few years earlier and was the hero of our story instead of his father? In this story, we will tell you what it would be like if Gohan was the protagonist of Dragon Ball from the beginning, and what the history of the franchise would be like with him as a hero. But in that case, what would happen to Kakarot? Let's find out. Stay connected to the channel and let's go to the video. On one of Universe 7's many planets, called Planet Zeta, a long and bloody battle was raging. Explosions can be seen all over the planet. This planet was just one of many that were attacked by the terrible Saiyans, a place made up of voracious warriors who work for the tyrannical emperor of their universe, Frieza. But this time, something different was happening. The Saiyans were losing the battle. Kakarot fled flying from an enemy city along with a fellow Saiyan named Oniox. Both were very injured. Oniox, desperate, says, "Damn it, Pota was killed. These bastards are more powerful than we thought. And to make matters worse, this damn planet doesn't have a moon." Kakarot says, "We need to get out of this place and go back to planet Vegeta to get back here with reinforcements." But suddenly they are surprised when a string of shots coming from a group of pursuers destroys Kakarot's tracker and goes through Onyx's chest. He immediately collapses. Kakarot yells for his companion, but he has no choice but to keep running, and so he flies away at full speed. Kakarot lands next to his ship, and after entering the ship he takes off towards space. The warriors from the planet can't reach the ship with their speed, but they shoot from a distance with energy attacks. Some of these attacks hit the ship before the flying object leaves the planet. The ship continues rocking in space. Kakarot realizes that the fuel tank was damaged by the shots, and because of that the fuel is slowly leaking. He deduces that he won't be able to reach planet Vegeta with the fuel leaking like this, and he also can't call for help, as his tracker was destroyed while he was fleeing, and the ship's communicator system was also damaged. He has no choice. He has to stop at the first planet with intelligent life, and he can try to find and resolve the situation. After a few weeks of wandering through space in search of a planet with intelligent life, Kakarot finally finds one, in a planet with an intense blue color. The Saiyan lands on the ship of the planet, causing massive destruction in a field. After landing in this field, Kakarot sees a farmer who probably saw the ship landing and went to see what was happening. Seeing Kakarot get out of the ship and head towards him, the farmer tried to run, but Kakarot caught up with him quickly and threatened him, ordering him to tell him where to find someone on this planet who knew about how to repair spaceships. The farmer says he doesn't know anything, but he could ask Ox King. Those lands are ruled by him, and he's a rich man. Maybe he can help. Kakarot asks where this man named Ox King lives, and the farmer explains to him how to get to the king's castle. After receiving this information, Kakarot lets the man go, takes the spaceship in his arms, and heads towards Ox King's castle. Kakarot is arriving at the king's castle. He can already see the big buildings from afar, and in his mind he reflects that that castle was nothing compared to King Vegeta's castle. But the Saiyan's thoughts are interrupted when a war axe comes whirling towards him. The Saiyan immediately dodges, but the axe stabs into his ship, which angers him. Kakarot immediately lands and tells the person who made it to appear immediately. A big man comes out from behind a tree. That man is Ox King, who asks why this strange man is flying into his territory. Kakarot notices that the king is not alone. A very beautiful girl is accompanying him. Kakarot asks if he's the Ox King, the one who rules the land. The king confirms. Then the Saiyan tells him about the ship and asks if he can help. But the Earthling King doesn't want to give this foreigner any favors. He just wants him to stop flying near his castle. Kakarot says that if he doesn't want to help him with information, he at least needs to repair the damage he did to his ship. But the king says he won't do that. He's the one in charge of the region, and he's the one who gives the orders. For the foreigner's disrespect, he will teach him a lesson. Kakarot smiles. Does this Earthling think he can do something against him? The Saiyan man removes the axe that is stuck in the ship, and then with only one arm, and clearly not using too much force, he throws the weapon. The axe travels through the air with such speed that Ox King can't even react. The weapon passes right through him and heads towards the tree behind, and in a clean cut, the axe cuts through many trees before finally coming to a stop. Ox King and Chi-Chi are completely paralyzed as a group of trees fall behind them. After doing so, Kakarot asks if the king still wants to fight, but the man is completely angry, and in a feeling that gathers fury and despair at the same time, he advances towards the Saiyan. Kakarot sighs as he says that this man is an idiot, and then the Saiyan concentrates strength in one of his hand and punches the air. And only the pressure of Kakarot's blow makes the king leave the ground and fly a few meters before crashing to the ground again. After doing so, Kakarot says that he admires the Earthling King's courage, so he will kill him as a worthy warrior. The invader points his hand at Ox King and forms a cue ball, but when he is ready to fire, Chi-Chi steps in front of her father in a fighting stance. This surprises the Saiyan, who orders her to get out of the way, but the woman doesn't obey. She won't allow him to kill her father. At that moment, a childhood memory pops into Kakarot's mind, an occasion when he unintentionally provoked a Saiyan man on planet Vegeta. The man was threatening to kill him, but his mother, Jinne, stood between them in a way as Chi-Chi is in front of Ox King now. She also said that she will not allow anyone to harm her son. After remembering this, the man sighs and then gives up attacking. He makes a deal with her. If she helps him, he won't do them any harm, and he'll leave this planet as quickly as he can. Chi-Chi agrees and says that on planet Earth, there is a very rich company that has the most advanced technology on the planet. The name of the company is Capsule Corporation. She says the man who runs this company, Dr. Briefs, is an extremely smart scientist, and when she was in town recently, she heard that the Capsule Corporation was trying to work with spaceships now. This information interests Kakarot, who says he's going to this place called Capsule Corporation and will ask for help from this man called Dr. Briefs. But Chi-Chi says that if he goes alone, he'll cause a lot of trouble in the city since he doesn't know how things work on Earth, so she'd better go with him. Kakarot asks why she cares about this and why she wants to help him. The woman with a shy expression says she would like to fly a little. Kakarot is shy too, but he agrees. He needs to fix the ship after all, so any help is welcome. Kakarot and Chi-Chi head towards Capsule Corporation. The man carries the woman on his back while he carries the spaceship in his arms. When Kakarot arrives at Capsule Corporation, Dr. Briefs welcomes him incredibly well, and for the Saiyan surprise, the old scientist is not surprised to hear his story. Apparently not many days before, he was visited by another person from outside Earth, a strange man who belongs to a group called the Galactic Patrol. Kakarot said he's heard of these people. They don't like Saiyans. Dr. Brief says that it doesn't matter if they're allies or enemies. What really matters is learning more about alien technology. The old man examines Kakarot's ship and notes that it has almost no fuel and is already reasonably damaged. Since he's already learned a bit about alien spacecraft and how the fuel system on these vehicles work, it won't take that long to fix, but it will still take at least a month to get it fixed and refueled. Kakarot doesn't like that. He doesn't want to have to wait a whole month on this weird planet, but he understands that it's not an easy process. He says he'll wait until the day comes. Suddenly, he's surprised by a little girl touching his armor. Seeing this, Dr. Brief apologizes and introduces his little girl. This is his youngest daughter, Bulma. Staring at the little girl, Kakarot feels something strange, as if he already knew her from somewhere. But surely, it's just a meaningless thought. After all, he's never been on Earth before, right? Talking to Chi-Chi, the Saiyan asks if there's entertainment on this planet. Something he can do during this month, he'll need to stay. Chi-Chi asks what kind of entertainment he likes. He says he likes to fight and asks who's the strongest warrior on this planet. If he fights someone strong during this time, maybe this month won't be so boring. Chi-Chi, after thinking for a while, says that her father's master is known as a great fighter, and he's called the god of martial arts. His name is Master Roshi. Kakarot says this is perfect. He wants to see this man called Master Roshi. Chi-Chi says that she will take him to the island where the hermit lives, and then they both say goodbye to Dr. Brief and even Little Bulma. Kakarot takes Chi-Chi flying to Master Roshi's house. She points out in the right directions, and on the way she tells him about the stories he's heard about this martial artist, and about how he's acclaimed in the martial arts world of Earth. After a while, they finally arrive at the small island where Roshi's house is. When they get there, they see a training taking place between two old men. One of them is Master Roshi himself, while the other is Son Gohan. Master and disciple got together to train and reminisce about old times. Seeing those men, Kakarot is disappointed. The strongest man on the planet, a geezer. Hearing this, Master Roshi gets very angry and asks if that stranger's mother didn't teach him to respect his elders, and then asks who he is and what he wants. Chi-Chi explains the whole situation to them. Roshi looks better at Chi-Chi, gets red in the face, and comments about how much he's grown. The last time he saw her, she was just a little girl, but now she's a woman. The old pervert tries to touch the young woman, who gets very angry and responds to this attempt with a strong punch to the hermit, who has a huge callus on his head. Kakarot is very surprised by this scene. He expected the strongest man on Earth to be more aggressive and fierce. On planet Vegeta, most warriors are extremely grumpy. Curious, Son Gohan approaches the foreigner and takes a good look at him. The two stare at each other for a while. Both have a curious expression in their eyes. Son Gohan says that for some reason, he doesn't know what it is. He has a feeling he's a good man. Kakarot says it's too much of an exaggeration to say that, especially when he's talking about a Saiyan. But looking at the old man, the Saiyan says that for some reason he can't explain, he also likes him. After this brief conversation, Kakarot tells Master Roshi that if he is the strongest man on Earth, he must fight him now. This request leaves Roshi very surprised. This foreigner was a very eccentric man. At first, Roshi refuses the fight, but then Kakarot resorts to many provocations to the older man, putting his reputation in doubt. After many provocations, Roshi agrees to fight. The fight doesn't take long to end. Kakarot has it very easy against the god of martial arts, who can't even make the Saiyan sweat. But Kakarot faces Son Gohan, who can't do more than Master Roshi. After fighting those two, Kakarot confirms what he already suspected. The people on the Earth were not strong compared to the people considered strong throughout the universe. But as he fought those men, he felt a peace he never felt while he fought. They didn't fight with bloodlust or malice in their hearts. They fought simply because they enjoyed doing it. It was totally different from the reality he knew. After the fight, Kakarot asked if he could spend a few days there, and Roshi allowed it. Those were the most peaceful days of the Saiyan's life. A month passed for Kakarot as if it were a day, and even though he was able to return home, the Saiyan decided to stay a little longer on Earth. Probably no one was looking for him. Besides, he's a low-class Saiyan who doesn't have much value. After some time on Earth, Kakarot became involved with Chi-Chi, and then the woman became pregnant. Son Gohan, who became very good friends with Kakarot, offered him and Chi-Chi to live with him in the house at a place called Paozu Mountain. The couple accepted, and in this way they were able to live happily for 9 excellent months. After 9 months, their son was finally born, a baby who was both Saiyan blood and Earthling blood. But there was a problem. Kakarot and Chi-Chi didn't know what they were going to call the child. They thought of many names. Chi-Chi came up with numerous Earthling names, just as Kakarot came up with numerous Saiyan names, and they even tried to put together a few names to see if it was approved. But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't agree on what the boy's name should be. And then a few days passed. The life Kakarot was living on Earth was much happier than he could have dreamed. But then the past decided to knock on the door. 2 ships entered the orbit of planet Earth. Kakarot was outside his house, sitting on the grass. Chi-Chi was beside him, and still unnamed baby was in his arms. They admired a beautiful sky from the mountains. Suddenly, the baby started crying uncontrollably. It was as if he was feeling something very bad. The parents did not understand the reason for the child's crying. They wondered if he was hungry or in pain, but then Kakarot finally sees 2 streaks of light in the sky. Anyone would think it was shooting stars passing through the sky, but not him. He knew what was going on there. Kakarot, while giving the child in his arms to the mother, tells Chi-Chi that she must keep the baby and she must not go after him no matter what. Chi-Chi doesn't understand why he's saying those things. As she holds the baby in her arms, she asks what's going on. He explains the situation. Those lights that passed in the sky were spaceships, Saiyans or soldiers from Frieza's army that are on the planet. Possibly they came for him. He should go talk to them before they start causing havoc on the planet. Chi-Chi was very worried and yelled at her husband not to go, but Kakarot ignored her and flew away. Son Gohan, who was doing something inside the house, came out to find out what was going on. Chi-Chi explained to him that Kakarot went after strange people who invaded the planet, and she was very worried about him. To reassure the woman, Son Gohan said he's going after him. The ships landed in an open field on the planet, and then the 2 crew left. They were 2 Saiyans. These Saiyans were called Okra and Paya. They were 2 low-class Saiyans. Okra, who was apparently the one running the mission, orders Paya to look for Kakarot, and Paya does so using the tracker. As the tracker searches for Kakarot, it measures the fighting power of Earth's inhabitants. Paya sees this, laughing while saying, "What a joke. The average fighting power the tracker is measuring up from the inhabitants of this planet is 5 units or less. If Kakarot has fallen here, how has he not completely subjugated this planet?" Okra, Paya's companion, says, "Well, maybe he didn't land here after all. Or maybe he may have arrived dead on the planet, or died in a supposed fall." Suddenly, Paya's tracker begins to indicate a higher power. He warns Okra. Paya says, "Wait, I'm detecting someone approaching, and that person's fighting power is 1,200. After hearing this, Okra says, "It's not possible that there is someone so strong on this planet with such a weak race. It's definitely Kakarot." A few minutes later, Kakarot arrives at that place, and seeing Okra and Paya recognizes them. They've done some missions together in the past. Seeing Kakarot, Okra and Paya are surprised to see that he is okay. They thought that if he was on the planet and the people of the place were still unharmed, it was because the Saiyan was not in a position to fight. Kakarot asked what they were doing on Earth. Is the planet on the list to be invaded? Okra says no. They came looking for him. They learned that Kakarot and his group had failed in their mission to take over planet Zeta, and so they invaded the planet and destroyed all the people there to regain the Saiyans' honor. But while they were on the planet, they learned that one of the Saiyan warriors had escaped, and from the description that the soldiers there gave before it dies, they discovered that one who escaped was Kakarot. Paya adds that the soldiers also reported that Kakarot's ship had been hit. So they deduced that he had trouble traveling and began searching through space. So they discovered this planet, which is the only planet with intelligent life in that region of the universe. Okra says that they assumed that either Kakarot was dead or badly injured, but that's not the case. He seemed fine. What happened? And why wasn't he returned to planet Vegeta yet? Kakarot responded with a half-truth, saying that he went to the planet because his spaceship was damaged and almost out of fuel, but amidst the fact that the ship is already fixed. Okra says that one way or another, they need to get back. Recently, they received a call. Apparently, Frieza ordered all Saiyans to return to planet Vegeta. The information makes Kakarot suspicious. Why is Frieza doing this? Okra says he doesn't know, but they need to get back immediately. Kakarot obviously doesn't want to go. After all, he has a family on this planet now. But he can't just give those Saiyans that excuse, so he has no choice but to agree to go. But then Paya tells Okra that since they are not on that planet, they could conquer that place in the name of the great Frieza. It's not in their orders, but perhaps the Emperor will appreciate their willingness to work harder than they need to, and give them a slightly higher rank in the army. Or maybe King Vegeta himself does it. After all, it would be another achievement of the Saiyajins, which would raise their respect among Frieza's army and the universe. Thinking about it, Okra agrees. It's a good idea. Maybe they'll be promoted to captain or something like that. At that moment, Kakarot is desperate. Will they destroy the entire human race? Will they kill his wife and child? At that moment, he tries to convince Okra and Paya not to do that. This planet is insignificant. Neither King Vegeta nor Frieza will promote them just for conquering this mediocre planet. But the two Saiyans notice Kakarot's expression of fear and discomfort and ask what's going on and what he's hiding on that planet. Kakarot tries to disguise his anguish and convince them that there's nothing wrong there, but the two men are already decided. They will eliminate all humans and offer the planet to Frieza. Seeing that he couldn't convince them, Kakarot decides to change his tactics, and then, without any warning, he fires an energy attack at both of them. But Okra and Paya reflexively manage to dodge it, and let a part of that field be destroyed by the attack. Okra and Paya are surprised. What does Kakarot think he's doing? The Saiyan who is on Earth says he can't let them harm those people. If they insist on it, unfortunately, they will be enemies. The two invading Saiyans laugh at that. Does Kakarot think he can defeat both of them? This is madness. Okra recalls the fact that Kakarot's fighting power is 1,200. It's the same fighting power as Paya, who also has 1,200 power units, but his power, Okra's power, is 1,300 units. Does this mean that Kakarot has an enemy with exactly his power level and another superior? How does he intend to win? Kakarot in thought agrees with them. He hoped to eliminate at least one of them in a surprise attack. There's no possibility of him facing these two at once, but now there is also no possibility of escape. He's already started that fight and now he needs to go until the end. Paya tells Okra that he will face Kakarot. The leader must not stain his hands with that traitor. Then the lower power Saiyan advances towards Kakarot and attacks him. The other Saiyan blocks the attack and counterattacks, but his attack is also blocked. The two Saiyans of equal power exchange blows evenly on the ground, and then begin flying and exchanging blows in the sky. Even though they both possess the same level of power, Paya gains the upper hand for a moment, and lands a strong punch on Kakarot's chest, the pressure of his blow even going through the hit warrior's body. After being hit, he walks away, spitting blood and placing his hand on his chest. Paya says that he wounded Kakarot's heart with that blow. He's impressed that he was strong enough to not die. But for sure he's weakened now. It's time to end that stupid fight and kill the people of this planet. Paya starts to focus energy and so Kakarot decides to do the same. But Paya notices that Kakarot has made a very peculiar position to focus his energy, and so he asks what kind of attack he will use. Kakarot says that he met an old martial arts man on this planet, and he taught him this technique. The attack's name is Kamehameha. Paya laughs and says that's a technique taught by someone of that race with such mediocre powers cannot be good. Kakarot will die just as mediocre as those he tries to protect. After concentrating a large amount of energy, they both fire off their attacks, and the two energy waves collide. Paya's energy wave immediately takes advantage of Kakarot's energy wave and charges towards him. Losing the dispute, Kakarot needs to cancel the Kamehameha and dodge, but when he dodges, Paya is already next to him preparing an attack, and he is about to hit Kakarot. He says that after this attack, he won't be able to fight anymore. But when Paya attacks, Kakarot immediately disappears. It was a mirage. After that, he appears behind Paya, preparing another Kamehameha, and while the Saiyan looks surprised at him, wondering what was happening, Kakarot smiling says that that was another technique of an Earthling. It was called Sensoken. After that, he fires a short-distance Kamehameha at Paya, who was completely hit by the attack and engulfed by the energy. After receiving the attack, he falls from the sky to the ground. Paya is dead. After defeating this enemy, Kakarot lands on the ground again, but he immediately falls on his knees with one hand on his chest. The wound caused by the opponent is really affecting him. Seeing all that was happening, Okra is very surprised. Kakarot beat Paya even though he had inferior fighting power because of his injury. Kakarot explains that fighting power is important, but not everything. He shouldn't define the result of a battle with this tracker. Okra praises Kakarot for managing to defeat Paya, but what will he do now? Since the beginning, Kakarot was inferior to him in power, but now he is seriously injured. This difference is even worse. But Kakarot gets up and says that no matter what the difference between their power is, he will keep fighting. Earth's protector goes towards Okra and attacks him, but the stronger Saiyan easily parries the wounded Saiyan's blow and counterattacks. Kakarot is hit by many very strong blows from the other Saiyans and is thrown to the ground. Okra says that as they fought a few battles together, he'll give him a quick death if he surrenders. That's the most he can offer after what the traitor has done. But Kakarot ignores the offer and stands up, saying that Okra still hasn't won. Annoyed, The invading Saiyan fires an energy attack at Kakarot, who would be hit by the attack and killed. But suddenly, someone jumped on him and took him out of the way of the attack, which blew up a mountain that was a few kilometers away. Kakarot saw that the one who saved him was Son Gohan, and then asked what the old man was doing there, clearly disapproving his presence there. Son Gohan explained that he promised Chi-Chi that he would bring him back to his wife and son, and it's a good thing he came. If he was a second late, Kakarot would be dead. Kakarot says that Gohan is an idiot, he shouldn't have gone there. Okra, hearing what the old man said, laughs. Now he's understanding the situation. So Kakarot has a wife and child on Earth? What a joke! How dare he tarnish the Saiyans' honor by breeding with such an inferior race? Their warrior blood should not be mixed with the blood of those weak people. Now he desires even more to destroy that race. Kakarot gets very angry and says he won't allow Okra to harm that planet and the people who live there. He manages to get up with difficulty and advances again towards the invading Saiyan. But he is severely beaten and again falls to the ground, this time much more injured. Son Gohan is very impressed with the power of that man. If Kakarot can't even come close to matching him, this old fighter can't do anything. But after thinking for a bit, Son Gohan realizes that he actually can. There is something he can do. Okra fires towards Kakarot. He intends to deliver the final blow, but then Son Gohan uses the Bankoku Bikori Sho technique and fires an energy beam that, hitting Okra, paralyzes him immediately. Shocked by that technique that hit him, Okra wonders how such a weak earthling could have such a technique. Kakarot, surprised by Son Gohan's intervention, asks what he's doing. Gohan replies that this is one of Master Roshi's secret techniques that he was taught many years ago. With that, he can paralyze the enemy for some time. But Kakarot must be fast and attack with all his might. Kakarot, with no time to question, stands up, begins to focus all his power while doing the Kamehameha stance. Okra, seeing that Kakarot had amassed a great deal of power despite his injuries, was startled, and so he began to struggle to escape Gohan's technique. In a second, the invader's efforts already showed results. He was able to move. The old Earthling, seeing that Okra was starting to move and would escape in a few seconds, increased the intensity of the attack even more. The electrical wave gets even bigger, and the Saiyan suffers even more. Gohan yells at Kakarot, saying that's the most he can do. He needs to attack immediately. In the second attempt, Okra finally breaks free from Bankoku Bikori Sho, but it's too late. Kakarot fires a powerful Kamehameha at the invading Saiyan, who is engulfed and completely torn apart by the energy wave of the lower Saiyan, who used all the power he had in the attack. After that, Son Gohan falls with his hands on his chest. Kakarot immediately goes to him and asks what's going on, and the old man explains that using so much power was too much for him. He's given him all that he has to get Okra to freeze for those few seconds. His heart is stopping. Kakarot is very sad about that. He asks why that man gave his life for him. This is a stupid thing to do. A Saiyan would never do that for another. But Gohan replies that Kakarot is already his family, so he happily sacrifices himself. It may seem stupid what he will say, but he considers Kakarot as his grandson. Hearing that, the Saiyan lets out a sad smile and says that he really would have liked to have someone like Son Gohan as a grandfather. Hearing this, the old man is happy and then he dies. Kakarot closes his eyes in sadness and laments over the corpse of a peaceful man who died because of him. After all this happens, Kakarot returns home with Son Gohan's corpse. Seeing that Gohan has died, Chi-Chi is very sad and cries bitterly. That man didn't deserve to die like that. Together, Goku and Chi-Chi bury Son Gohan. Afterwards, Kakarot tells Chi-Chi that now that he has been discovered, he must return to planet Vegeta. Okra and Paya had trackers, and these trackers also function as communicators. This means that the chance that someone saw what happened between him and the two Saiyans is very high, and King Vegeta will surely send warriors after him to Earth, and in the next time he will be surely defeated. They're going to destroy the entire planet. He must return to ask the king for mercy for the planet and face his own crimes there. Chi-Chi cries and asks her husband not to go. From what he said about the Saiyans, it is certain that they will kill him. Kakarot says that's probably what will happen. But if the Saiyan troops come to Earth, he will die anyway, and so will she, the baby, and all other Earthlings. If he goes there on his own, they may consider it an honorable act and grant him a wish before he dies, and he will ask that Earth not be judged for his crimes. Chi-Chi is very sad to hear that. But if that's what needs to be done, there's no choice. Kakarot buried the ship he used to arrive on the planet when it was repaired by Dr. Briefs, so now he dug up the ship and prepared to depart. But before Kakarot leaves, Chi-Chi takes the baby to him. The child, as if knowing what was happening, cries desperately for his father. Kakarot takes his son in his arms and takes a good look at the boy's face. It's probably the last time he'll see his son. Chi-Chi asks him to choose the baby's name before going. Even after so long, they still hadn't decided on a child's name. They discuss many times, and they always end up without a name. But now, whatever name he chooses, she will accept. Looking at the son, Kakarot, without having to think too much, says that the boy should be called Son Gohan. Chi-Chi smiles. She completely agrees with him. The child will be called Son Gohan. After choosing his son's name, Kakarot speaks directly to him. He explains to the baby that in his veins run the warrior blood of the Saiyan, but also the peaceful blood of Earthlings. He must take the best of each bloodline to become a better person than his father ever was. He must be very strong, a great warrior, but he must also be a mighty warrior who fights for peace. After saying those words to Gohan, Kakarot says goodbye to Chi-Chi and says that he would have liked to spend more time with her and those people. After saying goodbye to his family, the Saiyan enters the spaceship and takes off towards space. As the ship gains more and more altitude, Kakarot looks at the planet below him and wonders what his life would have been like if he grew up on that planet instead of planet Vegeta. Would he be a better man? Would he have a peaceful heart like people he knew? Could he live longer? He would never know. After a long journey, Kakarot finally arrives on planet Vegeta. He lands on the planet's airstrip and exits the ship. As soon as the Saiyan soldiers see him, they immediately surround the defector, ordering Kakarot to surrender immediately. He's under arrest. He surrenders without any resistance. That same night, Kakarot was already in prison. As he sat in the cell, he reflected on everything that had happened in his life and wondered how Chi-Chi and Gohan were. But the prisoner's reflections are interrupted when the jailer announces that he has a visitor, and Kakarot already wonders who it is. The visitor is Bardock, who, seeing his own son in the situation, before saying anything punches him in the abdomen. After receiving his father's punch, Kakarot sarcastically says it's also good to see him again. Bardock asks what he was thinking. Why did he deflect? Why did he stay on planet Earth instead of coming back? And why did he attack his own fellow Saiyans? Kakarot explains the whole situation to his father and tells him everything that has happened to him in recent times. Bardock says he's an idiot. He shouldn't have let his heart soften like that. But Kakarot questions his father if he also wouldn't feel seduced by such a life. Wouldn't he like to live in peace with his own family without being a slave of a damn tyrant anymore? Wouldn't he like to live peacefully instead of massacring so many innocent people? Bardock doesn't answer. The truth is that he understands his son despite not saying. Kakarot asks if he already knows when the judgment will be. He would like to speak with King Vegeta first. It would be nice if his sentence was judged by the king himself. Bardock says his judgment should take at least 2 days. Tomorrow Frieza will arrive on the planet, and King Vegeta is very worried about it. Surely the king won't occupy his mind with anything else until Frieza leaves the planet. Speaking of Frieza's visit, Kakarot reveals that he finds Frieza's sudden desire to gather all the Saiyans very strange, and asks what his father thinks about it. Bardock says he has a bad feeling about all this, but Kakarot should be worried about himself, not Frieza. The jailer announces that visiting time's over, and Bardock, with a sad look on his face, turns his back to his son and says goodbye. They will probably never talk again. A day passes and then Frieza arrives at planet Vegeta, along with his army. From prison, Kakarot notices an abnormal movement in the planet. Something very bad was about to happen. King Vegeta, fearing the worst, planned a revolt against Frieza. He went to the tyrant ship that was flying over the planet's orbit. The Saiyan King's plan was to eliminate Frieza, but the Saiyans' plan wasn't going so well. Bardock decides to go face the Emperor of the Universe, but before going, flying through the prison from afar, he launches an energy attack that destroys the wall of Kakarot's cell. Kakarot is startled by the wall of his cell being destroyed, and then goes to the hole in the wall to try to find out what happened, and sees someone flying far away in the sky towards space. It was his father. Kakarot, with a smile on his face, thanks his father. Looking to one side, he sees the planet's landing strip far away. He could try to steal a spaceship and go to planet Earth. Maybe with all this mess involving Frieza, no one cares about it. But looking the other way, he sees his father gaining more and more distance. He was definitely going to face the tyrant. What should he do? After thinking for a few seconds, Kakarot makes his difficult decision. Far away could be seen the image of a planet disappearing into the universe, the planet that belonged to the controversial Saiyan race. It was just another peaceful morning on Earth. On one of the many peaceful and fertile rivers in the Paozo Mountains, something strange happened. A giant fish swam swiftly as it was carried by the river's current. The reason for this is that chasing this fish running along the banks of the river was a child. As the fish swam at full speed, this child, son Gohan, chased the creature with a determined expression on his face. He needed to catch that fish at any cost. In a moment, the boy leaps from the bank into the river, catching the fish with a leap and straddling the creature as he grabs it. Gohan hugs the fish while squeezing it, leaving the creature comically desperate. While trying to smother the desperately swimming fish with a hug, the child apologizes to him, but if he doesn't take him to lunch, his mother will be very angry. Suddenly, the two are scared when they realize that the current of the river takes them towards a waterfall. The two scream comically in desperation, and then they fall down the big waterfall. However, soon after, we see that luckily for Gohan, in the middle of the waterfall there was a tree, and so the boy used his tail to cling to that tree, while with his hands he held the fish. Gohan is very surprised. He instinctively used his tail to cling to the tree, but something curious is that he didn't even notice that his tail grew back. It just appeared on his ass and grabbed the tree. Anyway, the boy smiles, relieved. The mission is accomplished. Today he wouldn't get scolded by his mother. Gohan returns home with the big fish on his shoulders. Chi-Chi is outside the house heating a cauldron over a fire, clearly preparing for the incoming fish. Seeing that Gohan has arrived, she thanks her son and asks how the fishing went. Did something different happen? Gohan says no, nothing different happened. At that moment, the boy had already hidden his tail inside his clothes. Whenever his tail grew, Chi-Chi would cut it again, and it wasn't a pleasant thing, as besides the pain, he always lost his balance at first. Gohan never quite understood the reason for this. Apparently he, unlike other Earthlings, was born with a tail, which his mother explained was a genetic trait of his father's race. But Chi-Chi always cuts off his tail when it grows up. She seems to be afraid of something. But the truth that Gohan didn't understand is that years before, Kakarot warned Chi-Chi that the Saiyans turn into terrible and powerful monsters during the full moon, and that happened every time they stared at the moon. But if a Saiyan didn't have a tail, it didn't happen. While the food cooks, Chi-Chi trains with little Gohan. Almost every day they do some martial arts training. It's like a routine for them. After finishing their daily training, they sit on the lawn and watch the sky. As they do, Chi-Chi always reminds Gohan that she comes from a family of fighters, and his father, Kakarot, belonged to a warrior race. That means his entire lineage is martial arts. To make his family proud, Gohan should be a strong fighter too. But more importantly than that was to study, because by studying he'll get a bright future. Ignoring the studies part, Gohan asks about his father, what kind of person he was and how he fought. Chi-Chi always tells the same stories to her son, about how amazing his father was, how strong he was. Gohan, as he always does, asks when his father is coming back. He would really like to meet him, but Chi-Chi never answers him clearly. She always strays from the subject. This time she didn't have to, as the conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Ox King, who came to have lunch with them today. Gohan runs towards his grandfather and jumps into his lap, while the king lovingly hugs his grandson. Ox King's visit was also frequent. Every month he traveled to Chi-Chi's house to stay with them during the full moon period. a matter of safety. The three of them ate lunch together, and Gohan's grandfather is obviously the one who eats the most. But the child is not so far behind, also devouring many food items. This causes concern for Chi-Chi, who wonders if the food will be enough. After they finish eating, the three spend a very happy day, where Ox King and Gohan play in the forest, while Chi-Chi takes care of the household chores. Usually they spent this period very calm, but this time something different happened. Gohan wakes up in the middle of the night with the urge to urinate, and when he goes to the bathroom he sees that Oxtail is there. Apparently he ate too much earlier. Gohan, unable to contain his urine, runs out of the house straight into a tree where he unloads everything he has stored. While returning home, Gohan notices that the night is much brighter than he usually sees. And then, curious, the boy looks at the sky, and he can see the big full moon, extremely beautiful. But after looking at the moon for a few seconds, the boy starts to feel something strange, and his eyes change color. Ox King is coming out of the bathroom when he suddenly hears a loud roar and feels the house shake. The king is scared. What is happening? Where is Gohan? Ox King comes out of the house and then he sees the Ozaru outside, destroying some trees. Chi-Chi immediately leaves the house too, and when she sees what is happening, she screams in desperation. Hearing Chi-Chi scream, Gohan turns to her and the Ox King, and then he goes towards his mother and grandfather. Ox King, seeing that Gohan didn't show any signs of rationality, asks Chi-Chi to take his axe. Chi-Chi says he can't do that. He can't fight his grandson. But the king says there's no option. Gohan must be stopped. If his tail is not cut off, who knows what will happen? Seeing that Gohan was closer, Ox King says that they don't have time to talk. Chi-Chi should get his axe immediately. In the meantime, he will distract Gohan. The king runs towards the monster and jumping towards it, punches Gohan in the face, who recoils stunned. After that, the Earthling warrior takes the opportunity to go to the monster's back. He must grab Gohan's tail to weaken him, something Kakarot also taught Chi-Chi before leaving. But when the king jumps to grab Gohan's tail, the Ozaru reacts by hitting the man, knocking him away and causing him to crash into a nearby tree. Ox King manages to get up, but he's clearly very injured. That was a really strong blow. The giant ape is heading towards him with a furious expression. Chi-Chi comes out of the house carrying the king's axe, and then she yells for her father to take the weapon and throw the object at him. Ox King grabs the axe and then he charges back at Gohan. The giant ape tries to crush the king with a top-down punch, but the man dodges the giant by jumping to the side, letting the ape's hand crush only the ground. After this move, the king leaps onto the giant's back, and then, seeing his tail once more, leaps to cut the tail off with the axe. But to his surprise, Gohan uses his own tail to strike the man, throwing him violently to another tree. Ox King hits the tree so hard that upon impact the tree falls on top of him. Chi-Chi desperately screams for her father, and seeing that Gohan walks towards him to kill him, screams, ordering her son to stop. Gohan turns to his mother and stares at the woman. He looks at her strangely as if he recognizes her. The giant ape approaches the woman. Ox King yells for Chi-Chi to run away. He will kill her. Chi-Chi says she can't do that. If Gohan kills him, no one can stop him, and he can run away from the mountains and attack other people. If that happens, they will kill him somehow. She will not allow her child to be killed, even if it takes her life to do so. After staring at Chi-Chi for a moment, Gohan regains his wild side. He starts roaring at her. Ox King, seeing that the worst would happen, tries hard to get the tree up and gets free. Meanwhile, Gohan raises a hand to attack Chi-Chi, who stands looking at her son, tears streaming down her eyes. After freeing himself from the tree, Ox King runs towards the axe, which was lying on the ground. As he does so, he yells for Chi-Chi to dodge. Chi-Chi refuses. She says that if she dodges the attack, Gohan will start moving, and it could be difficult to hit his tail. Maybe this is the only chance to stop him. Seeing that her son was about to attack, Chi-Chi says she loves him and asks him to be a good boy and to train hard, but also to study hard. He must be the protector of the earth, but he must also be a great scientist someday. Gohan drops his hand in the form of a punch towards Chi-Chi. Ox King, while yelling at Chi-Chi to run, picks up the axe, prepares to throw. Gohan attacks his mother, and then the axe hits his tail. A few seconds later, the boy Gohan is sleeping naked on the floor, while Ox King carries him, cries. The king's princess was no more. On another beautiful day at Roshi's house, the old martial arts master was watching a TV show with beautiful women exercising. But then he noticed that someone arrived on the small island where he lives. Leaving the house, Master Roshi saw that the visitors were Ox King and Gohan. Master Roshi is worried to see them in his house so suddenly, and looking at them, he realizes that they both are very sad. The old hermit asks what happened. Ox King, wanting to talk to Roshi alone, tells his grandson to stay at Master Roshi's house for a while. The boy does as his grandfather orders. And as the child enters the house, Roshi warns him not to touch his magazines. There are things unsuitable for children there. When Gohan enters, Ox King and Master Roshi talk about what's going on, and Ox King tells him everything that happened. Upon hearing that story, Master Roshi is absolutely shocked and saddened too. It must have been very hard for Ox King to see his grandson kill his own daughter. Ox King says he doesn't know what to do about Gohan. He feels that this boy has a kind of power very different from anything they've ever seen. And he doesn't just refer to the ability to become a giant ape. This child needs help controlling his own powers, but he doesn't know how to help. He's not a master. And most of all, after what happened to Chi-Chi, Ox King can't see his grandson with the same eyes, even though he loves him very much. So he asks Master Roshi to help. He asks his master to train Gohan to be able to control his own powers. Master Roshi sighs, then agrees. Of course he would do this favor for Ox King. Besides, Gohan is the son of Chi-Chi and Kakarot, two people he liked very much. He was also named like his old disciple, Son Gohan, and he is the grandson of his other disciple. He could never deny such a thing. Ox King thanks his master. He will always be extremely grateful for that. After talking to Master Roshi, Ox King says goodbye to Gohan and tells him to be a good disciple and do whatever Master Roshi orders. The boy, even saddened by the whole situation, says he will do as his grandfather says. From the next day, Gohan begins his training with Master Roshi. Every day, Gohan has to wake up early to do the work. He did simple jobs like delivering milk, plowing the field, and others. But despite this, the difficulty of services increases quickly. In a short time, Master Roshi notices that the power of the child has already far surpassed his power. That boy had a completely absurd potential that surpassed anyone who lived on Earth. But Gohan himself wasn't aware of his own power. He still thought he was weak. A few years had passed, and now Gohan was an 11-year-old child. But despite so much time having passed, the boy followed the routine imposed by Master Roshi every day. But one day, something different happened. While Gohan was training on the island, a person came to them. It was a teenage girl named Bulma. This girl had in her hand a strange object that she kept looking at. She got to Gohan and approached him. She explained what was happening. She was looking for the Dragon Balls, 7 magic orbs that if gathered together could be used to summon a dragon god of wishes that can grant any wish. She says that on top of the hat that Gohan wore was a Dragon Ball, and according to her radar, there's another Dragon Ball in that place as well. Thinking about it, Gohan says that she must be referring to Master Roshi's necklace. He has a necklace with one of those orbs. Bulma is very happy. She got 2 orbs in one day. But Gohan tells her that he can't give it to her. That orb in his hat belonged to a man named Son Gohan, who was a great friend of his grandfather and also his parents. Bulma gets very angry with the boy and thinks about arguing with him. But then Master Roshi arrives to ask what's going on. Bulma introduces herself to the old master and explains the whole situation. After hearing the whole story, Master Roshi, to the surprise of Gohan and Bulma, advises him to go on his journey. The old master explains that Gohan is very strong, but he lacks experience of what the world is like. If he goes with Bulma on the journey, he will be able to meet more places and people, and it will help him to develop as a person. On the other hand, this will certainly be a very dangerous journey, so he can serve as Bulma's bodyguard. Everyone benefits this way. Bulma and Gohan think about it and they decide that it might actually be a good idea. But Bulma, seeing Gohan, wonders if he's really strong enough to protect her. But the god of martial arts says she shouldn't rely only on her eyes. Gohan is very strong, probably the strongest on the planet. Bulma says that if that's the case, Gohan can go. But for them to go on the journey, she will also need Master Roshi's Dragon Ball. Master Roshi says he'll give the orb, but there's something Bulma needs to do for him. She needs to show her panties. Bulma, hearing the proposal, is embarrassed, but then she accepts and holds up her dress for Master Roshi to see her panties. And yes, she was in her underwear this time. After all, there was no stupid kid to remove her underwear while she slept, right? the old man, with his face completely flushed, starts sneezing blood uncontrollably from his nose. This was so much better than what he'd seen on TV and magazines. After Bulma takes Master Roshi's Dragon Ball, she and Gohan are ready to leave. But before his disciple leaves, Roshi presents him with the Flying Nimbus, a magical nimbus where only those with pure hearts can fly. Gohan, as expected, manages to use the nimbus, but Bulma doesn't, so the boy has to give up the nimbus for now. Now that they're ready, Gohan and Bulma set out on a journey for the Dragon Balls. A few days later, Gohan and Bulma travel on a motorcycle through a desert. Gohan, very bored, asks if they are too far away to get to where the Dragon Ball is. Bulma, annoyed, tells the boy to be patient. Since they started the trip, he only knows how to complain. But suddenly they stop when another motorcycle pulls up next to them. The person riding this motorcycle was Yamcha, who was accompanied by Puar. Yamcha, drawing a sword, orders them to stop and give them everything they have. If they do, he will allow them to pass. But seeing Bulma, Yamcha is extremely embarrassed. He's very shy around women. And seeing Yamcha, Bulma is also embarrassed. She thought he was a handsome man. Gohan says that Yamcha is a bad guy. Stealing from other people is a really bad thing to do. He will teach the thief a lesson. Yamcha laughs. What can a child do against him? But he says that if Gohan wants to fight, that's fine with him. But he can't guarantee that the boy won't get hurt. Yamcha does his fighting stance and Gohan does the same. As he takes up the fighting stance and faces Yamcha, Gohan remembers something Master Roshi said to him before he left the island with Bulma. Roshi said that he, when fighting other people, was to be very careful with his attacks. He should be as careful with people as possible and never attack using all his strength. While remembering the Master's words, Gohan is very insecure. Was it really a good idea for him to attack without using all his strength? What if his blows have no effect? Well, despite the doubt, he must trust his master's wisdom. Yamcha asks why Gohan is standing still. Has he given up fighting? The older man says that if Gohan doesn't attack, he will. Yamcha advances towards Gohan, trying to attack the boy with his sword. However, in a way that Yamcha can't understand, he misses the attack. Gohan is simply not in front of him anymore. Yamcha looks for the boy, looking around, but he can't see him. Gohan calls out to him. The boy was on Yamcha's back. Confused, the desert thief asks how Gohan got behind him without him being able to see. What trick did he use? But Gohan says there's no trick. He just moved to escape the blow. Yamcha tells him to stop lying. That was absurd. No one can move that fast. Gohan says he didn't move fast. In fact, it was Yamcha who moved too slow. Hearing that, Yamcha gets very angry and then he advances towards Gohan, trying many attacks, sword attacks, and also with punches and kicks. But to his surprise, the boy moves very quickly, evading attacks with extreme ease. In one moment, Yamcha manages to strike a top-down cut with his sword on the boy's body. But then the sword breaks, leaving Yamcha completely shocked. Very scared, the thief jumps away from Gohan. Gohan says he felt the sword wouldn't hurt him, so he stopped dodging. The boy, with an innocent mind, thought that actually Yamcha was using a toy sword to fight, and so he says, "You were using a toy sword just to threaten us, right? You didn't really mean to hurt me. I mean, you weren't a bad guy." Yamcha gets increasingly angry and tells Gohan to stop playing with him, and tells him what kind of tricks he was using. Yamcha makes a fighting stance and says that now he's going to end that fight with his secret technique, the Wolf Fang Fists. Yamcha charges at Gohan like a wolf, lunging at his prey. He fires many attacks at the boy, who easily dodges all the attacks. And Yamcha's last attack, which was the strongest in the sequence, was stopped by Gohan with a single finger. When this happened, Yamcha is completely shocked. Now he was starting to believe what was happening. There were no tricks. The child was really strong. Gohan says that Yamcha has already attacked too much. He should attack at least once for fun. After saying that, Gohan with unbelievable speed punches Yamcha before the man can react. And then the thief is sent far away by the force of the boy's punch and falls unconscious in the desert with a comical expression. Seeing what happened, Bulma is absolutely shocked. Her mouth drops comically to the floor and her eyes pop out of her face. Puar is paralyzed in disbelief that Yamcha was defeated that way. Gohan, no less amazed than the others, he looks down at his hand and wonders when he got so strong. Or was it that Yamcha was too weak? After what happens to Yamcha, Puar turns into a bird and flies away as fast as he can. Bulma is very happy to know Gohan is really so strong. Master Roshi was right. After all that, they continue their journey towards the Dragon Ball. Sometime later, Bulma and Gohan were traveling on Bulma's motorcycle. Gohan, a little curious, asks Bulma what she's going to ask for when she has all the orbs. Bulma's a little embarrassed and reveals that she's going to use the magic orbs to ask for a boyfriend. This leaves the boy a little confused, and he asks what a boyfriend is. She explains and he says that's a very stupid request. Bulma gets a little angry and says he's just a stupid kid who doesn't understand anything about life. Meanwhile, watching them from a distance was Mai. She was talking to someone on the radio stating that they found the Dragon Balls. Then Mai says that they should attack. Suddenly something explodes, the motor vehicle where Gohan and Bulma are, and they are thrown to the ground. A robot jumps towards the destroyed vehicle and takes the briefcase where the Dragon Balls gathered by Bulma so far are stored. After doing this, the robot flies away. Bulma, desperate, tells Gohan that he must go after the thing immediately. Gohan calls out to the flying Nimbus, and when the Nimbus comes, he starts the chase. A short time later, Gohan finds the robot that stole the orbs, but when he approaches to fight, he notices that the robot doesn't move, and so he starts talking to the robot, insulting the machine without understanding that it is nothing without someone to control. Gohan touches the robot and the machine falls, and the boy scoffs at the robot being so weak. After doing this, he returns to Bulma and says that he defeated the enemy, but did not find the Dragon Balls. Bulma says they can use the Dragon Radar to find the orbs. Yamcha, who has been chasing them since his defeat in the desert, offers a ride. He, while chasing Gohan and Bulma, heard about the story behind the orbs, and also wanted to get a wish. His plan was to help Gohan and Bulma, but at the right time to steal the orbs and make a wish. The Dragon Balls were taken to a castle by a small man named Pilaf. When his two servants arrived, Pilaf celebrated the fact that he had gotten so many orbs so quickly. His plan was to take over the world, and it was getting closer and closer. Following the Dragon Radar, Bulma, Gohan, Yamcha, and Puar arrive at Pilaf's castle and invade the place. When they arrive, they notice that there are several arrows on the ground, indicating a certain direction. They follow these arrows innocently until they fall into a trap set by Pilaf, who had already saw them arriving. Pilaf, through a TV, tells them who he is, and says that since they know about the Dragon Balls in the castle, they must die. But Gohan says they won't die. All they have to do is get the hell out of there. Pilaf says that this is impossible. The walls of that room are very resistant. No human being can destroy that place. But then Gohan prepares a punch, and after concentrating some force in his hand, he makes the swing move in the air. And only the pressure of Gohan's attack destroys the ceiling of that prison, passing through Pilaf's floor, scaring him and his minions, and then overtakes the entire castle. When this happens, Yamcha, Bulma, and Puar are completely shocked, and the villain trio even more so. Everyone is extremely shocked by the power of that boy. After that, Gohan, with a single jump, leaves the prison through the hole in the ceiling that he opened himself and reaches Pilaf's room, also through the hole in the floor. Seeing the boy arrive so quickly in the room, Pilaf, Shu, and Mai are completely terrified. Gohan tells them to give them the Dragon Balls they stole, and the terrified villains obey the boy. They give the orbs to Gohan while begging for mercy. Bulma, Yamcha, and Puar arrive in the room soon after, and Bulma asks how Pilaf found out about the Dragon Balls. Pilaf says that the Dragon Balls are no longer such a big secret. Some people in the world have heard about these orbs, including the Red Ribbon. According to their investigations, the Red Ribbon is also after the orbs, and that's why they are in such a hurry to get all the orbs, to make their wish before the criminal army. Upon hearing that name, Bulma, Yamcha, and Puar are very scared. Gohan asks what the Red Ribbon is. He's never heard of it. Then Bulma explains that they are the most powerful army on Earth. They are very dangerous. Yamcha says that if the Red Ribbon is involved in this, he won't go on this adventure. It's getting too dangerous. Bulma agrees. They are very mean people. It's too risky to mess with them. Gohan says that if they are really that bad, they need to be defeated. Yamcha says that Gohan is crazy. No one can against the Red Ribbon. But then Bulma remembers that Master Roshi told her before they left about Gohan being far beyond anyone else on the planet. And then the girl has an idea. Why doesn't Gohan take the Dragon's radar with him and look for the orbs? With the flying Nimbus, he can move much faster, and if he meets the Red Ribbon soldiers, he can defeat them. Gohan says it's okay, he can do it. So Bulma gives the Dragon radar to the boy. After that, he summons the flying Nimbus and leaves Pilaf's castle. Sometime later, Gohan is flying over a mountainous region, taking a look at the radar. He saw that he was already close to the next Dragon Ball. But Gohan wasn't the only one looking for the orb. At that location, a Red Ribbon force camp had been constructed, and a group commanded by an elite soldier named Colonel Silver was in place. The Red Ribbon Force used much less advanced equipment to search for the orbs. They had already been at the location for 20 days looking for the artifact. When Gohan arrives flying on a cloud, he immediately catches the attention of the men who are looking. They immediately stop to observe that strange child who arrived there. Gohan descends from the Nimbus and in a few seconds finds the orb. Seeing that, the soldiers are in shock. How did he manage to do that? The men, while pointing guns at Gohan, order him to hand over the orb. Seeing their threat, Gohan in a split second knocks them both out with one blow. After doing so, the boy climbs on the flying Nimbus to leave, but one of the soldiers immediately tells Colonel Silver what is happening over the radio. Colonel Silver acts quickly, storming out of his hut with a bazooka and hit the flying Nimbus, which explodes. With the Nimbus destroyed, Gohan lays on the ground, wondering what happened. Colonel Silver orders Gohan to answer his questions. How did he find the Dragon Balls? The Red Ribbon still hasn't found an accurate way to locate the orbs, but it did within seconds. He's certainly using more advanced radar. But Gohan, annoyed at having lost the flying Nimbus, says he won't answer anything to that villain. Colonel Silver, while taking off his overcoat, says that if Gohan doesn't want to answer for good, he will take the information by force. The soldier attacks Gohan, but the child easily dodges, letting Silver walk right past him without understanding what happened. The colonel says that Gohan just got lucky. It won't happen twice. Then he moves forward again, trying many hits, but Gohan dodges it easily and asks why Silver moves so slowly. This angers the soldier, who says that Gohan is a coward who only knows how to run away. After this taunt, Gohan stops dodging, and Silver punches the boy in the face, but the colonel's hand is broken upon impact. Silver backs away with pain in his hand, not understanding what happened. Gohan says that he's too weak and that he has to be careful not to hit him. Gohan fills his lungs with air, then makes a big puff. The current of air caused by Gohan's breath is so great that it throws Silver towards a rock. The colonel comically bangs his head on the rock and then passes out. After defeating Silver, Gohan enters his hut and, searching the place, finds some capsules. He launches one of the capsules and a robot appears. Gohan asks the robot for help, saying he needs to fly to get to his next destination. The robot instructs him to launch capsule number 3, and when Gohan does so, a plane appears. Gohan says he doesn't know how to fly it, but the robot offers to do it for him. And so, Gohan leaves the Red Ribbon soldiers' camp in a Red Ribbon plane piloted by a Red Ribbon robot. Elsewhere, far to the west, was the Red Ribbon Central Base. At the base, Commander Red received the news that, according to their radar, the Dragon Ball that was in the region that Colonel Silver was looking for was moving. Not understanding the situation, Red contacts Silver, who explains what happened. The commander is furious when he learns that a single child had defeated Silver and his soldiers, and decrees the death penalty for the colonel. After that, he orders Staff Officer Black to contact General White. Apparently, the plane that Gohan stole was heading to the region under White's command. Meanwhile, Gohan was on the plane piloted by the robot. They were passing through a frozen region. The intense cold caused the robot's gears to lock up, and as a result, the plane crashed. The plane crash immediately caught the attention of Red Ribbon soldiers scattered across the site. Meanwhile, Gohan was lying in the snow, paralyzed by the bitter cold, but a mysterious girl rescued him. The mystery girl takes Gohan to her house, and there she and her mother warm Gohan with a blanket and a hot drink. Gradually, the boy begins to recover from the extreme cold. When he finally recovers, Gohan starts talking to them, and discovers that the girl who rescued him is called Suno. He discovers that the citizens of that village where they live are being forced by the Red Ribbon to search for a mysterious object. And from the description of this object, Gohan deduces that this object is possibly one of the Dragon Balls, but he cannot find the orb either, because his radar was broken during the plane crash. They further explain that the village leader, an elder, is being held hostage by the military at their base. Moved by the oppression that these people are suffering, Gohan offers to destroy the oppressor's base. He decides that he will destroy a Red Ribbon base alone. Suno and her mother don't believe he can do this. What could a boy do against the mighty Red Ribbon army? This is madness. But then they are surprised when soldiers who have followed Suno and Gohan's tracks break into the house. But Gohan easily defeats them both, showing them that he is certainly no normal child. After putting on a coat to protect himself from the cold, Gohan runs towards the Red Ribbon base. There, the tower commanded by General White. Patrolmen are watching the tower when they see Gohan running toward them. They try to stop the boy, but are quickly knocked out. And after taking down the guards, Gohan jumps to the next floor. General White, who was watching everything that happened outside on a monitor, is happy that the boy is taking this kind of attitude. It's much easier for him if the easier comes to the heart of the army so carelessly. He communicates with Gohan through a loudspeaker and invites the boy in, including telling him where the door is. Gohan follows General White's instructions, breaks into the tower. In the first room that Gohan enters, there are some soldiers already waiting for him, but he quickly defeats these soldiers. When he goes to the next floor, Gohan encounters a giant man named Sergeant Metallic. The sergeant explains that Gohan can move to the next floor only if he defeats him, and after saying that, he tries to punch the boy. But Gohan, with only one hand, holds the sergeant's metallic hand and spins the robot several times, throwing him against one of the walls as if it were any ball. Sergeant Metallic hits the wall, crashes through the wall, and flies away from the base. Seeing all this on camera, General White is completely shocked, as is Ninja Murasaki, who is beside him. Gohan goes to the next floor, and when he arrives, he's surprised to see that there is a real forest there. Suddenly, kunais and shurikens are thrown towards it. Gohan dodges while wondering who threw it. The more kunai and shurikens are thrown, and Gohan again dodges them all. The one who is throwing the weapons is Ninja Murasaki, who is hiding among the trees. He laughs as he says, in thought, that with all those trees there, Gohan will never find him. Impatient, Gohan says that whoever is doing this is a coward, who only knows how to hide. And then the boy concentrates all his strength on his hands, and then he clashes his hands together really hard, and the force of Gohan's hands colliding together creates a huge impact wave that sweeps all the trees in front of it. Ninja Murasaki, who is hiding among the trees, is carried away as well, and falls to the ground with the tree on top of him, with a comical expression of pain. As he sees birds circling his head, the ninja complains, "It wasn't supposed to be this way. I still had a lot of ninja tricks to use against him." Well, maybe if it was some other boy, he could have used those tricks, right? After destroying the forest, Gohan continues his journey towards the top of the tower, going to the next floor. Ninja Murasaki, even fallen, saw Gohan advancing towards the top of the tower, and then he takes a remote control from his clothes and says, with an evil smile on his face, "He may have passed me, but he will never pass the mighty Android 8. Saying that, Murasaki presses the button in the center of the remote control, after which he passes out. Gohan finishes climbing the stairs when he sees a cage opening a few meters away, and who comes out of the cage is Android 8. Upon seeing Android 8, Gohan asks who he is and if he wants to fight too. Android 8 introduces himself to Gohan and says he should fight him, but he wouldn't. He doesn't like to do harm to people, and he doesn't like to fight either. This surprises Gohan, who quickly sympathizes with the android and introduces himself as well. Seeing all this through the computers, General White gets very angry, saying that this android is a complete failure of the Red Ribbon. Gohan, while talking to 8, says that he needs to keep going until he gets to the top of the tower. He needs to save the village chief who is trapped there. Android 8 likes to know that Gohan is there for a worthy cause, so he says he's going to help the boy get to General White. He says that Gohan will need his help to move forward. When the two walk a little further, Gohan finds out why 8 said that. There was a maze in that place, and with the help of the android who already knew the place, he managed to go through the maze very quickly. Reaching the end of the labyrinth, Gohan realized that there was another floor in that tower, but there was no entrance to that place. Android 8 explains that place is the 5th floor, and that for some reason there's no entrance to that floor from there. But they don't need to worry about that, they just need to move on to the top, where General White is. Gohan and Android 8 arrive at General White's office, who is waiting for them next to a computer, with his finger on a button. Gohan orders White to release the village chief and leave those people alone, but White says he's in no condition to make demands, and so he presses the button. The floor below Gohan and Android 8 opens, and they both fall into the ground. From the hole in the ceiling, General White orders Gohan to give Red Ribbon the radar he used to find the Dragon Ball and also the orb he has. But Gohan says he will never do that. After this response from the boy, White closes the door, leaving Gohan and 8 trapped in that place. After that, one of the walls of the place opens, and they see a big monster. This monster is called Bouillon. General White over the loudspeaker says that Bouillon is invincible, and no hit will work on his body. The monster tries to land a tail swipe on Gohan, but the child easily catches the monster's tail. Gohan says that if punches aren't supposed to work, he just has to get the thing out of here. And then he spins Bouillon many times and slams the creature against the wall. Bouillon breaks through the wall and is thrown far away from the tower. General White and Android 8 are completely shocked by this. After doing so, Gohan punches one of the walls, opening a hole in it. He tells Android 8 to exit this hole and go to the top floor. After that, with a giant leap, the boy leaves the 5th floor by crossing the ceiling with his own head and landing in General White's office. Seeing Gohan appear again in his room, General White is very scared. Gohan again orders White to release the villagers' leader. The general had a gun hidden in his waist. He pulls this gun and shoots at Gohan. But Gohan catches the projectile in his hand and then throws it back at White, hitting the gun in his hand and disarming the man. Very scared, White says that he gives up. He will hand over the village leader. He opens a door to a small room. The old village leader was there, sitting at a table doing something. With the general's call, he leaves. By this time, Android 8 was already in the room as well, and the 3 of them were leaving. But General White had another weapon hidden in the room, and that weapon was much more potent than a regular weapon. He points the gun at Gohan, but Android 8 sees when he's about to shoot and steps in front of Gohan, taking the shot. He takes no damage. After doing so, Android 8 runs towards White and lands a strong punch on the general, who is thrown far away from the tower, completely defeated. Gohan says that wasn't necessary, that shot sure wouldn't have hurt him, but he thanks the android for protecting him. After everything that happened in the tower, Gohan went to Suno's house along with Android 8 and the village leader. There he found that the Dragon Ball that the Red Ribbon was looking for in the region was with Android 8, who had found the orb days ago. But he kept the orb and didn't tell anyone because General White planned to kill all the citizens of the village when he found the orb. But now there was no reason for him to keep the orb, so Android 8 gives it to Gohan. The next day the villagers gather to see Gohan leave. Gohan ends up commenting that he lost his flying Nimbus because of Colonel Silver's attack. But one of the village elders explains that a flying Nimbus cannot be destroyed that way. The Nimbus just fell apart. Knowing this, Gohan is overjoyed. He calls out to the flying Nimbus, which comes towards him. And then, mounted on his Nimbus, Gohan sets off towards the western city to see Bulma, so she can fix the dragon's radar and he can continue the search for the Dragon Balls.